Hey there, you guys. So, in this video, I'm just gonna kind of go over the difference and just kind of compare between bagged and bagless vacuums, and just kind of explain the pros and cons of each one, and just see just so you can just so if you want to decide which one you want and all that stuff. It all depends on which type of vacuum you want, whether it's bagged or bagless. But yeah. So, as lots of you vacuum collectors and enthusiasts know, that bagless vacuums have become pretty popular nowadays. Like when you go to your department store like Walmart or Target or Lowe's, you see that pretty much all the vacuums there are bagless. And yeah. And, I do like bagless vacuums a lot because, I like both bagged and bagless, but I guess, for my personal preference, I kind of like bagless a little bit better because, I always like watching the dirt fly around in a circular motion, and especially if you vacuum the room that hasn't been vacuumed in a while and stuff, and seeing how much dirt you pick up can be very satisfying and stuff. And yeah, that's one of the things I like about bagless is that, when you vacuum a room that has been vacuumed in a while and seeing how much you pick up, it can be pretty satisfying. However, there are some downsides about bagless, and specifically for people with allergies or asthma, it can be very, very messy to deal with. And so, yeah, if you have really bad allergies or asthma, I personally would recommend that you go with a bagged vacuum because, yeah, they're a lot less messier to empty and stuff. So, yeah, all you have to do is, like, for this example, this is a Ricard Vibrance R20S, and they're really great vacuums. For people who prefer bag, these are really awesome vacuums. Now, you can't get them at, at your department store. I got this from my local vacuum store for like around $500, and I know that seems pretty darn expensive, which I agree it's a bit too overpricey. But yeah, but it's made here in the U.S. So as you can see, there's a sticker that says "Made in the U.S.," which is pretty cool. But yeah, even I don't really care too much. But yeah, but yeah, this is a really nice, good quality bag vacuum. So yeah, so you take this door off, and this exposes the disposable filter bag, and as you can see, I wrote the date on it of when I had started, just so I can see how long, just so I can tell of how long it's been in there for. So yeah, so it's been there for like almost a month, and there's already some debris and some dirt and stuff in there, but you can like really completely pack this. So yeah, so to empty it out, you just pull this red tab right here, and before you pour it out, this automatically closes, and that way you don't get that poof of dust all over your face when you go to the trash. So yeah, that's the thing I liked about bag vacuums, is that some of them like this have like, well, it has a door that closes the fill hole thing, so that way you don't get that poof of dust all over your face when you go to the trash. And yeah. Well, as for bagless vacuums, hold on, I'm gonna put this back in there. So yeah. So, whereas for bagless vacuums, things can get pretty messy. So, yeah, you just take this out, and you press this button right there, and this door will automatically open, and which I'm not gonna empty because I don't want to get my carpet dirty and dust blown in my room. But yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of dirt and hair and debris and stuff, and it gets really messy. So yeah, for people with allergies or asthma, I personally would not recommend a bagless vacuum because they can get really messy, and yeah, it's just a lot more work of dealing with a bagless vacuum than it is with bag. Now, if you prefer bagless vacuums, that's totally fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But just so there's going to be a bit more work to deal with in a bagged vacuum. Because, yeah, you have to, like, clean it out. And sometimes you have to, like, take a blower or air compressor and blow all the dust and soot out of the cyclone tube and all that stuff. Or if you have another vacuum, that's bagged, you know, you can vacuum that up as well, which is what I usually do. But yeah, but yeah, but yeah, if you prefer bagless vacuums, you know, just make sure that you empty it outside, like out in the garage or outside of your house, just anywhere that's outside, because you don't want to get that dust blown over you, especially inside the house after you just vacuumed everything up. But yeah, and also, you know, lots of people don't pay attention to, especially for bagless vacuums, but there's also a filter that needs to be washed or replaced on a regular basis. Like this one is a filter, right? One of the main filters is like right inside here that I twist the top off, and that exposes a washable filter that needs to be washed and cleaned on a regular basis. And lots of people don't pay attention to, and people assume that if it immediately loses suction, they just throw it away and, you know, spend several $100 on a whole new vacuum, and it's just gonna happen again because people don't really pay attention that there's filters in a bagless vacuum that need to be cleaned and, you know, replaced on a regular basis, and that just kind of blows my mind. Cause yeah, cause like, you know, I've had um, some friends of mine that you know, when I started, like I've had a couple friends of mine in real life that brought me their vacuum, and you know, since they know that I'm into vacuums a lot, I'm good working with them. They bought their vacuum because they, you know, because they told me that their vacuum was losing suction. So I took a look at it, and most of the time it was just a filter that's been clogged and filled with dust and dirt and debris that needs to be washed or replaced. And there were other times where there was just like a simple clog in the hose where the dirt enters through the hose into the dirt container, which is usually like around here, and I was able to fix that. And they were really amazed at how, like, you know, that they don't pay attention to. So yeah, that's what people need to pay attention to, is that there's filters that need to be, because like, you know, people assume that that if it starts to lose suction, then they say, oh, it's not working anymore and I have to buy a new vacuum, when they don't realize that it could be a clog, or that the filter is clogged up with dirt and dust that needs to be cleaned or replaced. And yeah, that just kind of blows my mind. So yeah, bagless vacuums, you know, there's a lot more maintenance on bagless vacuum than there is bagged. But again, there's nothing wrong with bagless. I'm not against them. You know, if you're willing to take the risk of doing more maintenance on a bagless vacuum, then that's cool. I'm happy for you as well. And yeah, but this is just, you know, something to be aware of if you prefer bagless vacuums, because yeah, they do have more maintenance on cleaning them and all that stuff. So, but if you're not willing to do that, and if you just like, if you're not willing to do the, you know, the risk of dealing with more maintenance on the bagless vacuum, especially if you have allergies or asthma, then it's probably better just to go with a bagged vacuum, because it's just, you know, it's a lot less messy to deal with, and because plus, you know, the only thing that you pretty much have to worry about is changing the bag on a regular basis. And, you know, it depends how often you use your vacuum, you know, whether you have pets or animals and all that stuff. But usually bags will last for like maybe, you know, 3 months or so. It depends on how often you use them, but sometimes you may have to replace a little more often than that, like maybe once or twice, maybe like once a month or two, depends. But yeah, because like most of the dirt is all contained in a bag. I mean, there's like barely any, I mean, there's a tiny bit of dust on the housing that you can just take like a cloth and maybe dampen it a little bit and just wipe the, you know, the interior of the housing where the bag is. And same thing with the door there. I mean, there's a little bit of dust on it, but it's not too bad, so I'm not really too worried about that. But yeah, so yeah, for people with allergies or asthma that are very sensitive, I would recommend that you go with a bagged vacuum, because it just, you know, especially if it takes a white cloth HEPA bag like this, which is what I prefer, you know, because usually, because not only are the cloth HEPA bags like these, not only do they have better filtration, but also they're more stronger and more durable, so they won't rip or tear as easily as a paper bag would. Now, paper bags are better than nothing because there is one type of bag vacuum that I absolutely do not like at all, and that is the shakeout bag. And the shakeout bags are usually like, used on commercial vacuums that are direct air where the bag inflates and all that stuff. And I'm telling you, even I've never used one before, but I do not like these shakeout bags because they are just really messy, and they're honestly way more messier than a bagless container. Because you have to like shake all the dirt and it gets really dusty. I mean, to me it doesn't matter if you empty it outside. It just gets really messy, and yeah, it's honestly a bad idea for people with allergies or asthma. Because I do not like these shakeout bags because they're just really messy and just like, oh, I've seen videos on YouTube when people empty the shakeout bag, and I'm telling you, it's just ridiculously messy. And that's why I do not like them. Now, if you like the shakeout bags and if you're willing to deal with it, that's totally fine. I totally respect your opinion, but for me, I don't, and I think they're just absolutely messy. And yeah. When it comes to bagged vacuums, I definitely prefer the ones that take the cloth HEPA bags that are usually white because they have better filtration and they're more stronger and durable. So yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this back on. Bagless vacuums have become pretty popular. Most of the time you'll see them throughout the store when you're buying a vacuum. But I think they should also be bagged vacuums as well. They should also be, you know, as much as bagged vacuums as there is bagless, because some people prefer bagged vacuums, and I can totally understand why, because of how messy bagless vacuums can be and more maintenance and all that stuff. So yeah. So that's my comparison between a bagged and a bagless vacuum cleaner. I hope this was informative. But again, there's nothing wrong with bagless vacuums. If that's what you want and if that's what you prefer, then that's totally fine. But just so you know, there's going to be some more maintenance. So it's not just, people assume that bagless vacuums like, oh, I just got to empty the dirt to a garbage can and it's fine. I don't have to do any maintenance. I mean, that is true, but over time, because people don't pay attention that there's filters inside the bagless vacuum that people don't pay attention to, and that they, you know, immediately just throw away when it starts to lose suction, and spend like several $100s on a whole new vacuum when it's just gonna happen again. So yeah. So yeah. So yeah, that's my video and a comparison between bagged and bagless. Let me know in the comments of which you prefer, but yeah, it's totally up to you. There's nothing wrong with bagless, but yeah, it's gonna be more maintenance of dealing with a bagless vacuum than there is bagged. But for me, I'm perfectly fine with it. I've never had too much issues with it, so I'm willing to deal with it. So yeah. So, anyways, hope you guys liked the video. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos coming up soon.